Do you think this dresser is worth $1,000? Hello everyone, I'm Andrea from Andrea Flipping Unique. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining. And I was being extremely serious when I asked that question. Is this poorly painted, beat up, mid-century modern dresser worth $1,000? I think it is. But just to clarify, I have joined the $2,000 Before and After Challenge hosted by the Furniture Squad, where myself and many other talented YouTubers are going to be taking a piece of furniture and giving it a mind-blowing transformation. First place is $1,000, and you, the viewer, are going to be able to vote for which transformation you think is the best. So continue watching, and I'll show you everything that I did to give this mid-century modern dresser the mind-blowing transformation that it deserved. I'm pretty sure the paint on this thing was acrylic paint, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I did test it for lead and it came back negative. I know there's a really dark spot on the tip of this, but it's just from all of the dust and dirt that was on it. My husband and I went and picked this up on Valentine's Day at the beginning of this year, and it's been sitting in my garage ever since. The next thing I did was wiped it all down, assessed for any damage, and removed all of the hardware. Oh, cool. I just found the maker's mark. Nice. So what I do as I'm cleaning is I kind of just assess like damage. Like there's, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there's a missing piece of veneer right there. I make sure the drawers are intact and nothing needs to be glued. God, this thing is messy. How much dust is in there? Ugh. After that, I grabbed my carbide scraper and started scraping all of this paint away. I was very fortunate that whoever painted over this dresser did paint over the original finish, so none of this paint got into the wood grain. I did, however, retest it for lead just to be on the safe side because this still was the original finish and it was old. I apologize for the not great lighting after this. I ended up having to close my garage door because it was so cold and windy this day. Normally, I would scrape all of my drawers before I started sanding, but I could not contain my excitement and I wanted to see exactly what this veneer looked like, and I was not disappointed. After that terrifying debacle, I went back to scraping the drawers and then sanding them with 120 grit sandpaper. And then all of these grooves here, I used my dental pick and hand sanding to remove all of the finish. I also had one drawer slide that was loose, so I re-glued it and nailed it back into place. After the drawers were done, I then moved on to the body of the dresser and did the same process using my carbide scraper and sanding off the remaining finish with 120 grit sandpaper. One thing I absolutely knew that I wanted to do with this dresser was to build a new base, and in order to do that, I had to remove the existing one. So I popped off the front and I cut down the sides using my circular saw and my jigsaw. To remove the sides, I first placed down some painter's tape so that the veneer wouldn't splinter as much, and then I marked off exactly how much I wanted to cut off. Hello everyone. I am making a super rare appearance in my video. So, I'm sure some of you are like, what the heck? Anyway, I got really excited about something and I wanted to show you my actual excited reaction because I don't know, I'm a dork like that. But anyway, when I first bought this dresser, I thought it was missing a couple of the handles and they actually ended up being all in the drawers, which made me happy because the top drawers are curved and the holes are closer together, and the ones that go below them are further apart. And I didn't want to have to fill in hardware holes and color match. That would have been a lot of added work that I didn't want. So that made me happy, but that's not why I'm dorky excited. One of the knobs was missing, so I did go online to try to find other knobs, and I was like, well, let me check my stash just in case, because I have a big bag of mid-century modern hardware that I've saved from other dressers. I was like, let me just check just to make sure, and I had some. So they're not the exact same shape. These ones are a little bit bigger, but they're pretty similar, and they are vintage. So yeah, I was so excited. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all of this stuff in a pot of water with some vinegar and boil it, because these, I think somebody sprayed them. Yeah, the paint's ugh, that's a terrible noise. Anyway, I'm gonna boil them in water and vinegar to get that paint to come off a little bit easier. They are silver underneath, and these knobs are also silver, so I don't know, I might be leaving these silver. It's not, actually, I don't think I've ever had furniture with silver hardware. I don't know. I think it might be a fun change, do something a little bit different, because normally I do brass, sometimes I do black, but I don't know, I think silver might be a fun little change. And if the dresser doesn't sell, it's an easy fix, so I can just spray them a different color. But anyway, yeah, I was really excited about that. I wanted to share as it was happening. And yeah, I'm going to start to sand the wood epoxy next, and then hopefully get the staining. So there you go. Little did that Andrea know that her plans of leaving the hardware the original silver color were not really going to work out so well, but I'll explain that in a little bit. Prior to recording that, I did mix up some wood epoxy putty and filled in all of the veneer that was missing, and when that was fully cured, I went back in and sanded everything flush. After I had all of the wood epoxy sanded, I did go back in with 150 grit and 180 grit sandpaper and sanded everything to prep for stain. Oh no. Oh, that sucks. Damn it. So as I was cleaning this one particular handle, I don't know if you can tell from the pieces that fell into the sink, but the actual silver coating completely came off. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened, but it just happened to this one particular handle. And the silver that was underneath was a completely different color, a completely different sheen. And I wasn't just going to let one handle be different from the rest. So I rethought my plan a little bit and just continued to clean the rest of the paint off of the handles and called it a day. So this one came out really good, and this one, the silver peeled off of it. Oh, that's such a bummer. Oh well. The next thing I needed to do was build my base, but before I could do that, I needed to add some supports, so I used some scrap wood that I had and cut it down to size and glued it in. Sometimes I like to make sketches of my furniture to have my ideas out on paper, and I did that for this one with the bases and drew up two different ones. I've always loved the work from Adrian Pearsall with his bases, and I wanted to pull some inspiration from those, and that is how I came up with my design. I always start out by making a template on some scrap plywood for my legs, and I cut it out and then use that to trace it onto the actual wood that I'll be using. When it comes to designing and drawing out my legs, I really don't have a rhyme or reason on how I do it. It just kind of flows out as I'm drawing them on my template. But I do make sure that I'm working within the height that I want my leg. I also make sure that the leg itself is wide enough that it's going to support whatever I'm trying to hold up. And I also make sure that I have a little piece coming out that's almost starting to become a skirt so that I have that to attach to the actual skirt itself. After my template is looking how I want it to, I will then take it over to my bandsaw and cut it out. After it's cut out, I will then go to the wood that I'm going to be using for my base and start to trace out my legs and cut them out. When all of my legs are cut out, I then will place them on the dresser where I want them and mark them, and then measure for my side skirts and my front skirt. After I have my boards cut out for my front and side skirts, I then go in and add pocket holes onto both ends of the board just on one side. This isn't a necessary step, but I do personally like when my bases do have a little bit of a round edge to them, so I use my router and a round over bit. I normally use a 3/4 inch round over bit on my bases, but I actually went and bought an 1/8 of an inch round over bit, and I really liked how it turned out. For the front and side skirts, I just route over the bottom front edge. For the legs, I routed all of these edges, both front and back side. To assemble all of the pieces together, I did use super glue and an activator to hold them in place before I used the Kreg screws to screw them together. Since I messed up on my angles and this is the only footage I have of me making this base, I inserted another base that I made and showed you how I'm screwing in the screws. I wanted this base to be black, but I didn't want to use paint, so I took the We Refinish Universal Tinting Colorant and I added that into the clear stain base and made my own black stain. To attach my base to the dresser itself, I started out by drilling pilot holes into the skirts and then doing a countersink hole and then attaching my screws. After applying some water-based polyurethane to the base, I still wasn't happy with the color. I wanted it a little bit blacker, So I took the same colorant and added that into my water-based polyurethane and made a toner, and I liked it a lot better. After finally finishing the base, it was time to move on to stain. I didn't want to venture too far off from what the original color of the veneer was, so I ended up making my own custom stain. I used the Wee Wee Finish concentrated stain tints for this one, and I did 8 ounces of the clear stain base, 0.7 ounces of butterscotch, and 0.3 ounces of royal walnut. I applied just 1 coat of this all over the pieces that had the veneer, and I did 2 coats on the solid wood trim pieces. After the stain had dried, I applied 2 coats of Behr's water-based polyurethane in satin. After my top coat had dried, I went in and started color matching all of the veneer, including this little burn through that I did. Yep, I will be the first to admit I was not paying attention and I burned through the veneer. But it's okay, it's fixable. I fixed it. So if it happens to you, don't stress. You can just color match it and it will be totally fine. But also, pay attention. And I'm speaking to myself. To camouflage my color matching a little bit more, I did take the remaining stain that I had and added a little bit of top coat and made a toner. I ended up doing 1 coat over everything. The edges of the drawers still weren't dark enough, so I did add a little bit more of the concentrated stain tint to my toner and did another coat. The trim on the body of the dresser was also still a little off in color, and it wasn't quite as warm as the veneer was, so I decided to go in with some wipe-on poly toner in brown mahogany, and I did a couple of coats of that. I also added some into the grooves of the drawers. Since the silver hardware idea didn't really work out and the base was already stained black, I decided just to repaint the hardware black and have everything match. And finally, the last two things I had to do were wax the drawers and reattach the hardware. Before I show you the amazing transformation that this dresser went through, I wanted to remind you of what it looked like before. And to remind you, if you want to see more furniture flips, restorations, and the occasional DIY, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And holy moly, this is what it looks like now. This piece of furniture has definitely entered into my top 3 favorites that I have ever done, and I'm actually still debating if I want to keep it for myself. I love the color that it turned out, and I especially love this base that I built. So my question to you one more time is, do you think this is a $1,000 dresser? If you do, I will have the link in the description where you can go and cast your vote. Thank you again to the Furniture Squad for hosting this amazing challenge, and if you are interested in joining or want to check out everybody else's transformations, all of those links will be in the description as well. So like always, thank you for spending some time with me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just keep it respectful, and I'll talk to y'all soon.